Whether you've been coding for a day or a decade, it's pretty much a guarantee that you've seen this error before. I've been using Matlab for more than 10 years and I still run into this from time to time. Fortunately, the unrecognized function or variable error is an easy one to sort out. Remember that the variables in Matlab must be defined in the workspace in order to be recognized. In other words, if you don't see the variable name in the workspace, then you can't use it because Matlab has no idea what it's supposed to be. For instance, if I want to see what the variable r is, I would just type r in the command window. Because the variable r doesn't exist in the workspace, I get an error. On the other hand, I have some variables already defined in the workspace, so I could type a if I wanted to see what the variable a is set equal to. Most Matlab users understand this concept. It's when sections of code get longer and more complex that this error can surface. For example, if I run this piece of code, I get an error saying that the variable polls is unrecognized. Thankfully, Matlab does a pretty decent job of pointing out where I can expect to find the error that caused the problem. Here I can see that I'm trying to plot a variable called polls, however that variable doesn't exist in the workspace. Based on the code, it looks like I was trying to plot the variable POLS, and this was just a typo. Another time this error pops up is when you accidentally overwrite a built-in Matlab function. This happens all the time when naming variables. For example, here I have a variable named sign that represents the sign of some value. Then later in the code, if I want to use the sign function to create a vector, I get an error. This is because I overwrote the built-in Matlab sign function and therefore I can't use it anymore. Thankfully, I can correct this pretty easily by simply clearing the overwritten variable, and the underlying sign function should be usable again. Overriding functions like this happens pretty frequently when indexing loops as well. If I write a for loop or a while loop, or some if statement that uses the index I have effectively overwritten the built-in Matlab variable representing the imaginary number. This is why you sometimes see code that uses a variable index II or JJ, since those aren't predefined Matlab variables. Okay, so that's it for today's Matlab Minute. This was a pretty basic error that every Matlab user has seen from time to time. If you have any other questions or think I missed something here, please feel free to let me know in the comments section below. If you found this content helpful or interesting in any way, please consider liking and subscribing to help out the channel.